Renter's insurance is a type of insurance designed to protect people who live in a home, apartment, condo, or other property they do not own. Many renters assume that the landlord's insurance policy will protect them if something goes wrong, but that's usually not the case. A landlord's policy generally covers the building itself and certain structural elements, not the renter's personal belongings or personal liability. This means that if a fire, theft, water loss, or other covered event damages a renter's possessions, the renter may have to bear that financial loss alone unless they have their own policy. Renter's insurance fills that gap by offering protection for personal property, liability exposure, and certain living expenses when a covered loss disrupts normal life. At a basic level, renter's insurance exists to help a tenant recover from unexpected events that can be financially overwhelming. Many people do not realize how much it would cost to replace everything they own until they try to estimate it. Clothing, electronics, furniture, kitchen items, bedding, appliances they purchase themselves, books, jewelry, sports equipment, and work from home devices can add up to a surprisingly large amount. Even someone who thinks they live simply may own thousands of dollars worth of personal property. If a fire sweeps through an apartment building or burglary leaves a home emptied of valuables, replacing those items out of pocket can be extremely difficult. Renter's insurance offers a financial safety net that can help restore some normalcy after sudden loss. One of the most important parts of the renter's insurance is personal property coverage. This part of the policy helps to pay to repair or replace the renter's belongings when they are damaged or destroyed by a covered cause of loss. Covered events also include fire, smoke, theft, vandalism, certain types of water damage, windstorm, and other named perils depending on the policy. If a kitchen fire damages a sofa, clothing, and laptop, personal property coverage may help reimburse the renter for those losses. If someone breaks into an apartment and steals a television, bicycle, and camera, the same portion of the policy may respond. Coverage often applies not only to the belongings inside the home, but also to property elsewhere. For example, if a phone or laptop is stolen from a car or while traveling, the policy may still provide some protection, subject to the policy terms and limits. An important detail in renter's insurance is the difference between actual cash value and replacement cost. Actual cash value coverage generally pays the appreciated value of an item at the time of loss. That means an older television or couch may be worth much less than what it would cost to buy a new one today. Replacement cost coverage, by contrast, is designed to pay the amount needed to purchase a new item of similar or kind and quality without reducing the payment for the depreciation in the same way. The difference can have major effect on how much money a renter receives after a claim. Someone with actual cash value coverage may be disappointed to actually learn the insurer's payment is not enough to fully replace the lost property. For that, many renters prefer replacement cost coverage when it is available and affordable. Another major component of renter's insurance is personal liability coverage. This protection can help if the renter is legally responsible for injury to another person or damage to someone else's property. Liability situations can arise in ordinary ways. A guest may slip on a wet floor and be injured. A renter's dog may bite a visitor. A child may accidentally break a neighbor's expensive item. In some cases, a small incident can lead to substantial medical bills, repair costs, or even a lawsuit. Liability coverage can help with legal defense costs, settlements, and judgments up to the policy limits. This part of renter's insurance is often overlooked, yet it can be one of the most valuable features because liability claims become expensive very quickly. Closely related to liability coverage is medical payments coverage. This part of a renter's policy may help pay for minor medical expenses if a guest is injured on the premises, regardless of fault, within the terms of the policy. It is not the same as health insurance and usually applies only in limited circumstances, but it can help resolve small incidents without escalating into larger disputes. For example, if a visitor trips and needs stitches, this coverage may help pay for immediate treatment while the dollar amount are typically modest. It can still be useful as a part of overall protection provided by the policy. Renter's insurance often also including additional living expense coverage, sometimes called loss of use coverage. This can become extremely important if a rental unit becomes uninhabitable because of a covered loss. If a fire, storm, or major water event forces the tenant to move out temporarily while the repairs are made, the renter may face extra costs for hotel stays, short-term housing, restaurant meals, laundry, pet boarding, or transportation. These expenses can add up quickly, especially in cities where temporary accommodations are expensive. Additional living expenses coverage helps pay the reasonable extra cost of maintaining a similar standard of living while the home cannot be occupied. Without this protection, a renter could be forced to cover both ongoing rent obligations and temporary housing expenses at the same time. Renter's insurance is often affordable compared to other forms of insurance, which is the one reason why it's widely recommended. The relatively low cost can make it one of the most efficient ways to protect it against a large and unexpected financial setback. Despite that, many renters skip it because they underestimate their risk, believe their possessions are not valuable enough, or assume the landlord's coverage will protect them. These assumptions often lead to regret after a loss. Insurance becomes important not when everything is going well, but when a disruption occurs without traveling. A policy that seemed optional can suddenly become essential after a burglary, fire, or liability claim. It is also important to understand what renter's insurance does not cover. Standard policies often exclude certain types of losses or limit coverage for particular categories of property. Flood damage is a common example. Damage caused by flooding from rising external water is usually not covered by standard renter's policy and may require separate flood insurance. Earthquake damage is also commonly excluded unless specifically added. High-value items such as jewelry, collectibles, fine art, musical instruments, specialized equipment may be covered up only to the limits unless the renter purchased additional protection. Business property may also be subject to sublimits, which matter for people who work from home and keep expensive gear in their residence. Reading the policy carefully helps renters understand where their protection begins and where may need to be supplemented. The claims process for renter's insurance usually begins when the renter reports a covered loss to the insurer. The company may also ask for details about what happened, when it happened, and what property was affected. Documentation can be very important. Photo, receipts, serial numbers, bank statements, product registrations, and home inventory can all help support a claim. This is one reason many insurance professionals encourage renters to create a record of their belongings before anything goes wrong. A simple list of possessions, along with photos, videos of each room, can make the claims process smoother and more accurate. Without documentation, it could be harder to prove ownership, establish the value of lost items. Choose the right renter's insurance policy involves thinking carefully about both property and liability risk. A renter should estimate how much it would cost to replace all personal belongings, not just a few expensive items. Underinsuring property can leave a significant gap after a loss. Liability limits should also be considered seriously, especially for renters who entertain guests often, have pets, or want greater peace of mind. Deductibles play a role as well. A higher deductible can lower the premium, but it also means that the renter must pay more out of pocket before insurance begins to reimburse covered losses. Finding the right balance depends on budget, risk tolerance, and the renter's overall financial situation. The renter's insurance can also matter because it's sometimes required by landlord or property management companies. In many rental agreements, tenants must carry a policy and provide proof of coverage before moving in. Landlords oppose this requirement partly to encourage responsible risk management and partly because its liability incidents involving tenants can affect the broader property environment. Even when it is not required, many landlords strongly encourage it because it helps avoid confusion about who's responsible for what after a loss. Beyond the financial details, rental insurance provides something less visible but equally important: stability during disruption. Losing personal belongings or being displaced from a home can be emotionally exhausting. People rely on their homes not only for shelter, but for routine, comfort, and security. When that environment is damaged, the stress can be intense. Insurance cannot erase the inconvenience or the emotional impact, but it can reduce the financial strain and make recovery more manageable. It can help replace necessities, support temporary housing, protect against legal exposure, and at a time when the renter is already dealing with enough. In the end, renter's insurance is all about protecting lifestyle and a level of independence, not just a collection of possessions. Renting a home does not eliminate risk. In some ways, it can place people closer to shared building hazards, neighboring units, and other exposures outside their direct control. A policy helps ensure that if something goes wrong, the renter is not left facing consequences alone. It covers personal property, provides liability protection, and helps with extra living costs when a home becomes unstable because of a covered event. For many tenants, renter's insurance is one of the smartest and most practical forms of protection available. It is relatively simple and often affordable, and potentially very valuable when life takes an unexpected turn. Whether the problem is theft, fire, accidental damage to someone else's property, or a temporary displacement from home, the policy exists to cushion the financial blow. It gives renters a way to prepare for uncertainty and to protect themselves in a situation where the landlord's insurance usually will not. That is why renter's insurance is not merely an option add-on to a lease. It is a meaningful safeguard for personal property, personal responsibility, and peace of mind.